Hello and welcome to the very first episode of On the Healing Journey podcast with me, Angel Shanice. It's such an exciting journey we're going to be having because we're going to be unfolding conversations about healing from different circumstances, healing from different issues, and I just want you to join me on this journey as we discover how we can heal from things that we've gone through in our childhood, in our adulthood, in our families, you name it. We are going to be giving you what you need to hear. So, on the first episode, we're going to be having a conversation about something that I believe most of us, if not 90% of us, are going through. We're healing from childhood trauma on this episode. You know, childhood trauma is something that we shun away from talking about because we believe it's not something that we are experiencing. You tend to think, no, that didn't come from my childhood. I'm okay. But guess what? It is childhood trauma. And I want you to understand it today. So on this episode, I am honored to be having someone who is very, let me say, very educated in these matters, yeah? And first of all, I'd like to thank him so much for joining me on this episode today. Karibu sana. I call him Daktari, but I'll let him introduce himself. Karibu.
Thank you, Angel. My name is Dr.Moses Macharia. I'm a mental health specialist, and I work in the entrepreneurial ecosystem with founders and the organization helping them curate employee wellness and just demystifying mental wellness in Kenya and in Africa. And I think it's quite an amazing conversation to have in this day and age and for our generation. Yes.
I agree with you. In our generation, talking about mental health is something I actually like how people are embracing it now, and the fact that people are owning up to the fact that there's an issue and we're ready to talk about it. Yeah, so karibu sana. So on today's conversation, I'd love us to unfold about childhood trauma.
Yeah.
You know, Moses, I came to realize later in life, we go through certain things, and you're there thinking, no, this happened yesterday.
Yeah.
No, it's because I went through an accident last week. But what we forget is this could be something you carried from a very, very, very early age. So, Daktari,
Yes.
as I like referring to you as,
Yes.
maybe you could define for us. You know, there's someone who's sitting there and they're thinking, okay, I've heard of childhood trauma, I hear about it, but what is it?
All right. I'll coin it as therapists call it. They call it adverse childhood experiences. And it's majorly just distress, extreme distress and hurt that you go through your formative years, you go through as you grow as a child all the way till age 18. And what are some of the things that, may inform this is probably the physical abuse that you may have seen, emotional abuse, things like domestic violence, neglect as a child, you were neglected. These are some of the things that, are traumatizing to us and bring us to that space of, childhood trauma.
Okay. I like something that you mentioned about especially neglect,
Yes.
emotional or physical neglect.
Yes.
You know, this and domestic violence and physical or sexual abuse. But Daktari, when you tell someone, whatever you're going through as an adult is because this happened in your childhood. For some of them, they're like, how? Why? I forgave my parent, I forgave whoever it was, I forgave my relative, but really, how can you recognize that whatever you're going through at this adult stage is because of that childhood trauma, it's because of that sexual abuse, it's because of the domestic violence? How can you recognize it as an adult?
First and foremost, I think it's important for each and every one of us to note that our brains are wired in an amazing way. It's actually due to the childhood experiences that, informs a lot of things in our way of doing life. And so even your personality today, it's actually informed by your childhood experiences. So how would you know, that you're going through childhood trauma? I'll ask, how are your relationships?
Okay.
How are your relationships?
Interesting question.
Are you a person who, is able to trust another person? How are your friendship? Are you a person who can actually hold a relationship? Are you securely attached? Were you affirmed as a child, shown love? Or are you insecure And we get to see this play out, especially in our relationships, a lot.
Okay.
How's your self-worth? How's your self-esteem? For most of these individuals, you'll find that your self-esteem is actually low. And it's majorly because of the experiences, maybe you had a parent who was abusive, a parent who never affirmed you, or a parent who was just away, and you tried as much as possible to, be there. And sometimes simple things in life, unajua acha tuilete home.
Yeah.
The very simpleness of sipati A, but napata B. Unajua?
Yeah.
Your parent might choose to celebrate you or to put you down. Aseme, wewe, unajua, and put some funny words.
Yes,
We know
yes.
what we were called. In my culture, it's even crazier. They would give you animal names. Yeah?
True.
And that affects you. You get to a space of numbing. You just numb effects. Your life is completely numbed over some things. And you'll see some funny characters pulling in some few things. So yeah, these are some of the things I can actually share with the person listening in today, on how to know, or what are some of the things I can quickly check out.
So let me ask you, Dr. When you're saying that it's how your relationships are, or how you're able to relate with people. So are you saying, for example, I use the same example that you gave, that your parents didn't celebrate you and all that. Could be that is the reason why you find right now some parents, they lash out on their kids when they do maybe something so small, or you find someone is going through issues with their partner or anybody at work, and for them they're like, no, they don't know how to respond to it positively. They're always lashing out because there are people who are always lashing out, no matter how big or small the situation is.
Yeah.
And for them, they know, no, the only way out is the insults, because they were so accustomed to being insulted.
Yeah.
Could this be is this probably a sign of childhood trauma?
Yes, it is actually a sign of childhood trauma, because it informs, the patterns that you are able to see. In our lives, we get to model, experiences. We get to model the things that we get to see from the people who hold key, positions in our lives. For instance, our parents. And so one of the things I can share with the listeners today and you is, as a man, I can get into the kitchen simply because I saw my father getting into the kitchen.
Okay.
All right? It will be quick for me to raise my hand over to my wife simply because I saw my mom being.
Yes,
and
because
so
it
it's
happened.
so, unconscious that you are not aware that these are the things that get to inform your behavior patterns. And so emotionally you are dysregulated. It's one thing, to state that these are individuals who can quickly fall into mental health challenges. And sadly, statistics is there to support this, that they are quick to get into anxiety, stress, and some of these other mental health challenges that we are currently seeing in our society. And so, the lashing out to your colleagues, kuna nyingine waga iko very subtle, innocent. Unajua ile umechelewa alafu una slide in. Do you remember the days you used to, yani unaingia tu home ki sniper shot. And in school pia umechelewa, uliruka na fence. These things come and play out even in your workplace. Yeah.
All right. It's so sad that we do these things unconsciously, and most of the times, you find that there are people who, in as much as they've been given such a warm setup, because of what they've gone through, how they deal with it. And like right now, when we look at statistics now, domestic violence has become such a rampant issue. And when you look at some of the reasons these people are doing it, and you trace back their family lines or their history, this is something that happened, like you're saying. Their parents beat up their spouses, or they saw the other kids being beaten up and all that, Yes. So coming to the point of it's leading up to mental health disorders like depression, PTSD, and the likes, for some people, they don't really realize this is childhood trauma they're going through. So for them, they're like, no, I'm okay. In as much as every time they have issues with their partner, they lash out the wrong way. For them, they think they're okay. Really, how can you be able to tell where the problem is? Because for somebody, they don't think they're the problem. For others, they believe their partner is the problem, or they believe that's the colleagues at work are the problem. How can this person be able to tell where the problem really lies?
All right. That's
Or
a very
how
good
can they
question.
trace back to what exactly happened? Yeah.
I think right about now, if you're listening in, I'd love for you to pause, and introspect. Just pause. If you can, close your eyes and look deep within. The beautiful thing about life is we all have an inner child that is in there, and gets to communicate with us. And sometimes they go on defense. And so I would love for you to close your eyes. And I would love for you to connect with that deeper inner child. Go back in time. And imagine the moments. And I understand this might be tough, but let's walk this journey for a minute. Would you sit down with that child and see if the child was affirmed? What is that child in you crying out for at this particular moment? Now, would you open up your eyes and look for a place to write down and just jot down some of the things that came out and came into your mind? Angel, the only way we can address some of these things is if we have a conversation with ourselves. If we are willing to open up some doors.
That's true.
And these are
true.
doors that can lead, if you're struggling with depression, I understand that this can be a challenge. And may I suggest that even right now, if you need support, you can reach out to us and we can refer you to a good therapist who can support you, because there is space for therapy to help you address, because this will create, a lot of dysregulation, especially with just the exercise that we've just done. And sit down and just write down some of the challenges that you're going through as a child, some of the things that you desired to hear but never had, and actually affirm that child. That's the only way we can bring what is numbed and pushed to our unconscious mind to the present, by us dealing with the matter here and now. Yeah.
So what I picked so heavily when you said, let's have a moment, I tried to get back my inner child also, and I was just having moments of flashbacks, and you looking back at things that probably happened in the past. And we're not saying it's all bad things, but there's always some good in it.
There is some good.
And what I'm picking, and the first thing that I'd like somebody and the person who's watching is, you need to accept.
Yes.
I think that's one thing that is so heavy to do, because many people want to live in denial.
Yeah.
And Dr. Fine, I have accepted. I'm dealing with this childhood trauma. I have accepted that how I deal with situations is based on my childhood trauma, or how I perceive things is based on my past. Fine, I have accepted. I know this is the issue.
Yeah.
But I do not know where to begin.
Yeah.
I know probably someone is there and they're like, okay, fine. So where do I begin? Maybe this is how I know how to handle things. I know when something goes wrong, I will insult someone. I know when something goes wrong, I will take medication or whatever it is, yeah?
Yeah.
So I have accepted what is going on. But how do I heal? Where do I even begin?
So as I shared earlier, the first space is to seek out therapy. I think it's very, very important to have a therapist on board, a professional who can walk with you and guide you, with trauma and healing out of it. There are people who are certified EMDR therapists, amazing, amazing individuals. I would love to celebrate them. Second part is you accepting, as you said, but doing something about the acceptance. And so being consciously aware over some of the negative things that you've been doing and choosing to do, something else. So reaffirming the child, for instance, not approaching a particular thing in a particular way, because this is how I've been conditioned. So you say, hey, I'll put a stop to this. I'll do it in a new way. Seek out support groups, individuals who, have gone through the same thing. One of the things I love to tell people is you're not alone. You're not alone, and your story matters.
I think people need to be reminded that so many times, because when people are going through things, they feel like, no, I'm in my own bubble. This is just me and me alone.
Yeah, that's true. People feel like they're drowning in themselves. But the truth of the matter is support is there, and support is, readily available. So how gracious are you with yourself and others? And exercising that, being gracious with yourself, celebrating little wins. And so when you do something in the positive way as you desire, sometimes I tell people just write down what are some of the goals, what are some of the affirmations that you want. And sometimes you just need to say them out loud, all right? Just share them. Sema, ambia watu. And declare them to yourself and even to others. Like, this is what I believe in, for some people who are going through imposter syndrome because you felt like you're never enough because your father kept putting you down. But as you shared also, may I reiterate something you shared and say, celebrating, the good that was passed down and, enforcing on that and doing that and celebrating that. I think whenever we focus on positivity, then there is something that happens in us intrinsically that we, curate a culture of positive vibes in us as individuals. And so that's something I would challenge the guys listening in today, if you're tuned in, that you need to practice that over and over and over again. Yep.
All right. So what about the people whom their self-esteem has been affected so heavily based on what they went through in the past, because they were probably surrounded by relatives or parents who constantly made them feel less, or probably said words to them that until date, it's the small things, like you're saying. You can be told, these grades are so bad, can't you become something better? You're a failure, you're not beautiful, you don't look good in that, Those small things as a child, there are people who carry them to their adulthood, and it's really affected their self-esteem. So, Moses, there's that person who's there, they really try to do things, they want to push themselves, they want to become better. But when they go to do it, when they try, those words linger in their mind. What about someone who's going through that?
I'll say again, affirm yourself.
Okay.
Affirm yourself. If you're going through self-esteem issues, that's the only way to change the narrative that is negative with things that you know that are positive in you. I tell people sometimes writing down is pretty good, and you go to therapists, they'll always talk about journals, journal this, journal that. It's good to journal because you can get to see how far you've come from, and you're able to track some of,
day at a time.
A day at a time. And we tell people, take a day at a time. How would you take a day at a time if you don't have a account of how your day has been? And so journal and write down some of the negative thoughts that, were placed in your mind, and challenge them. May I say that for you listening in, you are actually good in what you're doing. You are good in what you do. In that relationship, you are great. I know you have a desire to do better. The little steps matter. The problem is we wait for something grand to happen.
You want to see something so big.
Now, ukweli ni kwamba, the little steps really matter. And so affirm yourself. For therapy, also, it gets to work a lot because you are able to be directed on some of these exercises that you can do so that you can grow as a person. All right? And so I know in this modern day and age, there are pop psychologists out there on IG, telling you funny shenanigans.
I saw a post somewhere that said, right now, everybody and their mother is a therapist because you go through something and you're ready.
Yeah.
Mimi ni therapist, I will give advice.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that is making people shun away from therapy.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And so tunajikuta tuko generation you pick advices from everywhere, a generation of branding and things like that. the beautiful thing about the real psychology, not pop psychology, is no one is going to brand you, number one. Number two, you will have to go through tests, scientifically proven, to ensure or to let you know that this is what we are actually working with. This is the issue that you're currently facing, and it does not define who you are. It's not like the pop culture that you're getting to hear, now everyone is branded. You're a narcissist, you're toxic, you're this, blah, 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 blah. Not that.
Okay.
It's you finding the relevant kind of help. And that's where professional help comes to play.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like that you mentioned that because, there's someone who's there, they're like, I'm going through things, but maybe this thought of counseling and therapy is just not for me. So I am glad we're actually getting this from a professional.
Yeah.
And for those who didn't know that you need to go through tests, I think that's something people don't really know.
Yeah.
So I hope you got something there. So we're on the healing journey and we have accepted, and one day at a time we're journaling, we're going through therapy and whatever else that we're going through. But every day is not easy. We have some hard days. So maybe you could share with us a few tips on like those daily tips which people could use to deal with every day as it comes. Because remember, this person, they're easily triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So someone may just easily call them a name and they're back to zero. Yeah. Because for them, this name lingers in their head. You're not beautiful. You're a dog. You're a failure, Yeah. So maybe share with us a few tips that if you're struggling with it, that you can use on a daily. Is it whatever, farming and whatever it is, that we could use?
Thank you, Angel. I think some of the things that we can employ quickly, top of mind, what are some of the things that you love doing? Each and every one of us loves to do something. I love music. And so I have feel-good music on my playlist that kicks me up when I'm feeling low and helps me navigate through day-to-day basis. So would that be you, loving music? Would you probably love, going out to the beach? And sometimes it might take someone pausing and taking a break from themselves and say, you know what, nimekuwa na negative energy, I need to refuel myself. Okay. And so how that looks like to you, it might be, going to the beach or going to gym. And something that I have been preaching, the water and drinking wine mostly, because I don't work out. Started golfing, which is fun. Exercise. Exercise as much as you can. It gives you feel-good hormones, which...
Na wengine wetu tunasikia ni kama tunatemwa lakini ni sawa.
It gives you feel-good hormone.
Yeah.
For some, it might be hiking, The thing is, taking a day at a time, basically, and being really gracious with yourself and employing coping mechanisms and strategies that work out for you. And so how will that look like for you as an individual? Okay. Sometimes it's just having a therapist on call and saying, hey, manze, leo ni ile siku. Or having a friend, you remember support system that we shared?
Yes,
having a friend that you can actually call and say, hey, manze, honestly, leo niko pabaya.
Yeah, today things are bad.
And for people with adverse childhood experiences, you just need a support system. Okay. And it's very, very key by there. Having a support system helps you move forward past your experience with people who care about you and a place where you can sort of be vulnerable. And also something else, employ active listening. Okay. Employ active listening. Listen to others. Listen to other people's experiences. You'll realize you're not peke yako.
You're not alone. That's very true. Very, very true.
Uko peke yako. And sometimes it's just going to that mirror, if you're a girl, and looking at yourself and, affirming yourself and declaring how beautiful you are, how great of a person you are. It works. Yeah. The beautiful part about all this, it's inafanyanga kazi.
It's true. Yeah. I agree with you 100%.
And people get triggered. The truth of the matter is you're going to get triggered. Okay. I have an experience of an individual. Actually, a story is told. Let me just take a turn. A story is told of a kid who, the mom was being beaten. And then they moved towns and went to a different city. And when they went to this different city, he was enrolled in a school and he was performing well. Things seemed to be okay. The problem came in when the teacher moved. And unajua, adulting ni hard. We change jobs, greener pastures hivi pale pale kidogo. Mwalimu akaingia mitini. Then this kid, wakaletwa mwalimu mpya. The problem is this teacher used to wear the same cologne as the dad. And the kid was triggered. And the kid was triggered. And the kid started acting out, doing stuff. Unajua, kukua rude, not doing the homework. So when they probed, they just realized it's because this particular teacher wore a cologne that reminded this kid of the dad. And that might be you.
Yeah.
Maybe your father, kitu innocent. Unajua vitu innocent.
Something so minor, because who would think a cologne would trigger something, honestly, especially with a child?
Yeah.
That's the last thing you'd think.
And for some of us, it's your dad was a workaholic. And so all you know, ni manzeni itachapa job. Alafu, weekend.
Yeah.
Ukijaribu kunokio bedroom kama mtoto, ama kama mdemo umse, manze things zina take a different turn.
Yeah.
So it's important for us to start noticing these trends and start employing coping mechanisms, start choosing mindfulness, being present in the moment. And that's what we are trying to create. The awareness of you knowing, hey, by the way, this is my current issue and this is what I need to deal with. Yeah.
All right. I really like the match that you've shared, and what I am picking mostly about all this, because the first step to healing, this is something we all hear, is acceptance.
Yeah.
That you accept that this is happening, and you start to surround yourself with the right people, surrounding yourself with what you need to do. And many people don't believe that they need to take a break. That's the sad part. I really hope guys will take note of that, because many people just know push.
That's very true.
Yeah. So I really hope guys will learn to, when you're having that negative energy, I think that's personally, I will say something that works for me also. When I feel like things are just not working, I will take a break from things and I'm like, wait, that work can stop, anything else can stop.
Yeah.
Because if you are personally, especially going through childhood trauma and you push yourself too much, you get to ile rock bottom, sasa things start flashing back. Yeah. So, Daktari, thank you so much for the insight. I am so glad that we get to understand what childhood trauma is and people get to realize what they're going through.
Yeah.
And I really hope you're going to start, if you have been watching, that you're going to start to deal with whatever it is you're going through, and you're going to take a step to accept, take a step to start your healing journey. Daktari, as we wind up the show, give us a few insights on how we're going to deal with things and whatever maybe we didn't mention.
All right, so few insights, or I'll say in parting, that your story matters as an individual. You have every right currently right now to work on the future that you desire as you place the past in that career view mirror. It's beautiful that, a driving analogy, the windshield is always brighter and bigger, and the rear view mirror is tiny.
So small.
Yeah. So would you change perspective, not be defined by the things that happened in your past, and start allowing them to zikienda tu hivyo nyuma as you focus on a bigger, better, brighter you. You deserve the love, you deserve to be heard, you are valued. And would you accept this as the new you in your workplace, in your relationships, in your personal, journey as a person? Yeah.
All right. Hey, that was deep. That was so deep. Listen, if you've been watching and you're probably going through something, and especially in regards to this episode, you've had such traumatic experiences as a child, and right now you don't know how to get out of it, or they're triggering things in your life, listen, it's never too late to heal. It's never too late to accept and move out of it. Right here on the Healing Journey podcast, we are going to help you accept. We're going to give you insight on how you can realize what is going through. And the beauty of it all, we're going to be giving you tips of how to heal from whatever it is you're going through. So, if there's any sort of traumatic experience that happened in your childhood, I hope today and now you start your healing journey. Dr. Moses,
Yes.
thank you so much for honoring us with your gracious presence
Thank
on the
you.
show.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to having you again and again. This shall not be the end.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And probably there's somebody who is there and they're like, I think I'd want to have another conversation with him. How can they reach you?
So you can reach out to me through my socials at Dr. Moses Macharia on Instagram, Moses Macharia on LinkedIn. My number is 0727 800 280, 0727 800 280. And let's have the conversation around mental wellness.
All right. Thank you so much. It was such an honor having this conversation with you.
Asante.
I have also personally learned a thing or two. So thank you so much for watching the show today and for listening to us today. It's always a pleasure to have you, and looking forward to seeing you again right here on the next episode of On the Healing Journey podcast with me, Angel Shanice. You can reach out to me on my social media handles on Facebook and Instagram. We can continue the conversation on the healing journey. Thank you.